Hello everyone, watch this review here with a look at Sinestro from the 4-inch Green Lantern movie line. Can't remember if this actually has an official name. Now, previously I mentioned the fact that I was very unimpressed with the line. Actually, that's a lie. I said it was incredibly ugly. And, while that opinion still kind of sort of remains, this week they were on sale for $5 at my local Toys R Us. They only had the first wave in. And because I previously planned on kind of picking up a Sinestro if for nothing else than the Energy Construct swords, which are really neat, I did decide to go ahead and just buy this one. Not sure if I will purchase anything else from the line though, because as mentioned, there's just not a lot of articulation, not a lot of attention to sculpt, and even the paint. Yeah. But hold on a second and I'll tell you how unimpressed I am by this figure. Before I actually go any further, I should just mention that, unlike the figure, I'm actually very impressed by the packaging. The whole effect where they incorporate the little ring accessory into the Hal Jordan, this little pop-up or whatever, it's really cool. The whole packaging really has a lot going on with it. I mean, it's just a shame that they didn't devote the same amount of attention and, creativity to the figures themselves. Sinestro comes with these two really neat sword constructs, as well as a ring which is included, I believe, with all of the 4-inch figures. Now, because this is intended for a small child, it naturally doesn't fit well on my index finger, as it should be, or in fact, even on my pinky. I mean, I guess arguably if you really wanted to wear the stupid thing, you can probably just expand it a little bit, but, just seems like a lot of effort. Now, as for the ring itself, I mean, it really reminds me of those cheap, imitation jewelry things. So you've got like a layer of plastic underneath it. It's got like this something to sort of simulate that, there's like depth or whatever to the gem to it. And it's kind of tacky. It's a lot nicer than the sides of the thing, which I'm not sure if that's supposed to be metal, stone, yeah. But I mean, it could definitely do with like some light piping or something. So it'd probably look pretty neat that way. As for the swords, this part, supposedly there's another accessory which can kind of fit the hands of these 6-inch figures, and then you can sort of plug this into it. I think it's the one that comes with Kilowatt, maybe. I don't know. But, you can actually have your 6-inch figures hold this. Not by the handle, mind you, but by this little part here, which sort of fits right in after you just mess around with it for a second. Although, I mean, obviously it's kind of an awkward fit and everything. I mean, to really make it look natural, you'd probably want to at least cut off this portion or cut off this outer portion. Needless to say, something would have to happen to get it into shape. The other sword is a little bit of a more natural fit. Although, for a figure this size, it just looks kind of puny. It's like, why would somebody bother making an energy construct if it's just could be like a tiny dagger or whatever. Also, not the greatest of fits. I mean, I suppose you could probably fiddle around with it and it'd probably look a bit nicer. Now, when the 4-inch line debuted, I mean, Sinestro was possibly the only one I was kind of even remotely interested in. Partly because this is probably the only time we'll ever get a 4-inch Sinestro as a Green Lantern figure. Despite the fact that, Sinestro was a much better Green Lantern than Hal Jordan, as Sinestro himself would readily attest and agree to. Not sure if a lot of other people would, but, Sinestro's testimonials do count for a lot. But, as previously mentioned, there's just really not a tremendous amount to the sculpt and stuff. It's really lacking in the articulation department, and I guess probably most of all, the whole paint is just kind of crappy and sort of flat, and if it had more articulation, it probably would look quite a bit nicer. Now, I deliberately went for one with a paint defect, because the hair is kind of sculpted more towards like one side in a lot of the figures, so I decided to pick up one where the paint bleed goes a bit over to the right side to sort of compensate for the sculpt error. It's kind of, I'd like to say ironic, but given the level of quality assurance, it's more moronic. Now again, just virtually no articulation on this. You have head rotation. Also feels like some up and down, but I think it's just intended as rotation. Arms are ball jointed. Waist rotates, and then legs just kick forward. They don't even go back. They just kick forward. Not even a whole lot forward. Just this tiny bit. So, I mean, obviously it could use knee articulation, could use ankle articulation, elbow it could use, and wrist. And then, it would at least, of course, it'd also need outward leg. After that, if they had that articulation, it would be a decent figure from the articulation standpoint, but they'd still need to, I guess, spice up the sculpt a little bit and then do a bunch of paint. But I mean, I really get the impression that this is probably more intended for the kids. And the Movie Masters line, actually even the Movie Masters line wouldn't seem like more of an adult collector's thing, so the quality there was sort of all over the place. So I'm not sure if they really intended anything for the adult collector with the Green Lantern movie. Kind of weird. But yeah, definitely an unimpressive figure. Still kind of happy I picked this one up for the price I did, just because the accessories are pretty neat and everything. Look at that. His sword is almost as big as he is. Then of course you can hold it with the other hand, which is what this little thing's here for. Of course, again, the sword looks like it's being held pretty awkwardly. I don't know, you'd have to mess around with it a bit. The other sort of weird thing I didn't mention is the fact that he has like all these little lines and stuff on his face. Supposedly the 6-inch figure has it as well, so I don't think it's just a quality concern or anything. I think it's probably sculpted that way for some reason. I don't know. I mean, he doesn't look terrible, although, I mean, the quality is just virtually non-existent here. I mean, it certainly wasn't bad enough for me to skip at $5, which I probably will for the rest of the line, because it doesn't really impress me that much, and, whatever. But this has been a look at the Green Lantern Sinestro from the Green Lantern 4-inch line for ages 4+. Until next time, folks.